concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. Happy Sunday. By the way, if you are in Europe right now, you're late. It's an hour earlier because your time has changed and ours hasn't. So for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be an hour out of sync. But whether you're watching it live or you're watching it in DVR, I'm just glad that you're watching it. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. What's on my 3D printer? Ha ha! Yeah, how about that? The Servo SVO4, I finally figured out why it was printing like crap, and it was a clogged nozzle. I don't know how many people have been keeping up with the drama. I've complained about it on my live stream a few times in past weeks. It was a clogged nozzle. Anybody who had clogged nozzle, you win nothing. You win nothing. But it is printing. Yeah. Oh, what do you think of that? Let's boom. It's a little sample print that they gave. Not perfect. A little wispy, but you know, for PL, I really expect PLA to be pretty string free, but pretty good. I can see I've got a little bit of work to do aligning the nozzles. You can tell, like from the bottom layer, you can see that the two nozzles are like on one side you've got a little bit of blue showing, and on the other side you've got none. So it's not quite aligned perfectly. There's other things you can see, you probably can't see, but it came out okay. It's a pretty decent looking print. Servo SVO4 finally I will be able to review it. Dark Moon FPV says, what the hell? Are you a furry? No, it's a sample print that came with the printer. Take it easy. What if I was a furry? Nothing wrong with being a furry. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being a furry. Like, I'm not going to judge you. What if I was? Anyway, yeah, clogged nozzle. I had a clogged nozzle once. Welcome to Livestream, everybody. Here's what we got going on. This is my main screen. That's for those of you who are watching. That's this one, the main screen. That's my main screen there, and I'll be taking your questions. That's what I'm going to be doing for the next couple hours. Is just taking your questions. Yeah, Isaac had a question. What was your question? I'm sorry. Thank you to Mike Crabtree for being so helpful and inviting him to contact him. But what was the question? What was Isaac's question? I want to know. Got that grind. Isaac. Oh, that's it. That's it. That's all I got. I don't even see the question. Bump, bump. I bought the DJI FPV-2 goggles. I don't have a drone yet. Should I wait to do an activation? No, you should go ahead and activate them. I mean, if you're not going to keep them, there's no... the activation issues, Isaac, are relatively rare. And these days, they've updated firmware and stuff to fix most of them. So you're probably fine to use them. But why... I mean... are you planning on returning them? Are you planning on selling them? None of that was really, as far as I know, affected by whether you activate them or not. Yeah. So, I mean, if you plan to use them, go ahead and activate them. If you don't plan to use them, don't. And sell them. But I don't know why you would, like... have bought them and then preemptively be like, nah, I anticipate that I might have activation issues, so I'm going to sell them. I mean, what if you don't and then you enjoy using them? Wouldn't that be something? So that would be my take on that. And that's what we're going to do. We're just going to be taking your questions here in the YouTube chat. If you want to make sure I get your question, what's a furry? Johnny DRC. Furries are people who like to dress up in full body cartoon animal suits. And, you know, that's more or less the extent of it. That's all you could say about pretty much all furries. There are different subcultures of furries that, yeah, like this. This is an example of some furries being furries. Look like they're having a good old time, right? They're kind of like people who saw the mascot at a baseball game and decided that they just like to live like that. And then they go to cons and they hang out with other furries. Pretty sure most of them have like personas. I'm not 100% sure about that. Some people think that it has to do with adult stuff, but all the furries that I've seen talk about it on the internet say, no, that's not it at all. It's got nothing to do with that. And then some of them say, well, sometimes it does. So, I mean, it varies. Anyway, yeah, furries. And somewhere out there, someone is having an awakening right now. Someone is like, oh, I thought it was just me. Apparently I'm not alone. So, if so, I'm just glad to have. Yeah, cool. Good for you. What was I saying? Oh, right. So I'll be taking your questions here in the chat for the next couple hours. And if you want to make sure I get your question, hit the $sign right here and leave a super chat. I will be reading the super chats a little later in the stream. Crabtree, thank you for asking about Factorio. No Factorio today. Jeffrey the Quick says, if it's an awakening, I want to go back to sleep. Also, the other half of my screen, I will be paying attention to these beautiful people in the Discord server. This is my Discord server, chat server, and these people are my patrons. For a couple bucks a month, they sign up to support me. And if you feel like doing that, you can join them. There's a link in the video description to my Patreon, where you can sign up. Just to have a, for less than the price of a cup of coffee, you can make a YouTuber happy. Yeah, whatever. So let's get to the questions. Adam Krivoshin, asks, with the leaks of the Jumper Express LRS radio, do you think Radio Master is working on Express LRS radio? Adam, I would bet that they are. I would bet that they are. Yeah, absolutely. It's safe to say that if Jumper does something worthwhile, then Express LRS, then Radio Master probably isn't far behind, right? Like Radio Master, Jumper put FreeSky R9 in a radio, and Radio Master went, yeah, no, thank you. But Express LRS is quite worthwhile. So, I would bet that they are. Joey Whitaker wants to know my thoughts on the Crux 35. I think I have a Crux 35 coming my way, and I'll try it out. But is that the one that Nick Burns really liked? In which case, I'm like, yeah, probably it's pretty good. Ekstrom says, my quad is slowly tilting to the left. I've checked every single possibility. Do you have any recommendations what to go over? So your quad is slowly tilting to the left. What should you start with? Number one, if you are in angle mode, then let's differentiate between angle and acro mode, first of all. If you're in angle mode, your quad will tilt to a constant angle and stay there. And you will have to push the stick the other way to level it out. If you're in acro mode, your quad will continuously roll at a certain speed, but will not stop. So we want to differentiate between these things because what causes them is the same, but how they manifest is different. And we want to know that what causes them is the same. And what causes them, the first thing that causes them is that your sticks aren't centered. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go into the Betaflight Receiver tab. Let's plug in a flight controller real quick, and let's bring up Betaflight. And any second now, we'll get a COM port. There we go. And we'll connect and we'll go to the receiver tab. And what we want to see is that the channels center at 1500. Now, in this case, they're centered at 1500 because we're in failsafe. There's no receiver. This is just a naked flight controller. But if the channels are not centered at 1500, then the quad will either roll continuously or tilt, depending on if you're in acro or angle mode. The other thing to check is that there is this parameter over here on the right called stick center. And if you modify stick center, then the flight controller will treat that value as the center stick. So in some cases, I say to people, well, your channels need to be centered at 1500. And they say it's still drifting. And it's because for some reason or another, they've changed stick center. I don't know why. Like there used to be a receiver, maybe it was Spectrum that centered, maybe it was Futaba, I can't remember. There used to be a receiver that would center at 1520 by default for some reason, I don't know. And you would need to change that to 1520 if you didn't want to modify your settings on your controller. So make sure that your sticks are centering at this value, which should be 1500. Now at that point, if the quad still drifts, that's something else is... That's weird. Something else is up. Something else is up. But that's almost always why the quad is drifting. Assuming you're on like default PIDs. So that's the first thing I would check. Tom Riley asks, hey JB, I think I bricked my Radio Master TX16S. I chipped my SD card trying to remove it. Now after attempting to flash the firmware, it won't power on. Any ideas? Tom, if the SD card is removed, the radio won't power on. It can't run without the SD card. So the other thing that could, so make sure you've got the SD card inserted and make sure you've got the SD card contents on it. By the way, some OpenTX radios don't need the SD card to run. Some of them do. Okay, so if you've got a Jumper T light or an X light, a FreeSky X light, and you're saying, what do you mean it won't turn on without the SD card? That your radio is different, so take it easy there. But that may be, I think it'll still try to power up though. It'll just say like SD card and then it'll power down. The other thing is that you could have flashed the wrong firmware, but the fix to that is to reflash using a bootloader or DFU mode, the correct firmware. So no permanent damage has been done, almost certainly. No permanent damage. You just need to get the right firmware on there and get the right SD card contents. Shiver Trip asks, something weird is happening to my DJI controller. All the receiver settings are correct, but the controller only spins 2 motors at a time. Let's throw this one out to the chat. Chat, it's a pop quiz for you. No prize for winning, just the satisfaction of feeling smart. This is all the information I'm going to give you. When I arm my quad, only 2 motors that spin at a time. What's the number one answer on the board? Alexander Agrawi already jumping up with the answer. Tim Guten Tag. Mr. Graham, wrong way FPV. Big data pimp. Mike Crabtree. Get in there, Mike. This is the correct answer. Turtle mode. The number one thing, because when you activate turtle mode, the idea is that the quad is upside down and 2 of the motors are in the dirt and 2 of the motors are up out of the dirt. So when you are in turtle mode, it only spins 2 motors at a time. So the number one thing that would cause 2 motors at a time, and they would only spin when you move the sticks, which he didn't give us that information, but this is the number one most likely explanation. So the most likely explanation is that you have turned turtle mode on in your modes tab. You didn't mean to do that, or you didn't realize the switch was flipped, and that's why only 2 motors are spinning. So that's the answer. No problem, Mike. I just thought if there was a chance to show off how smart you were, you would want to be in on it. That's okay. Mika Nurmi says, have the monthly winners published? Because I haven't seen them. Yes, they have, Mika. They have been published. They have been published in a post on my community page, right here. And if you go to the video, they have been published in a pinned comment at the top of the video, which are the two places that I said that I would announce the winners. So, yep, they've been published. The winners have been published. Airsure wants to know, what do you use to hang your quads on the wall? I use 3M command hooks. I use the medium ones. And what I do is I just stick these. I'm pretty sure I use the medium ones. These look slightly different. I wonder if they've changed the design. Regardless, I use the medium command hooks, and then what I do is I just take a rubber band and I hook it on the hook, and I wrap it around a motor, and I hook the other end back on the hook. So that's what I do. That is how I hang my quads on the wall. Forsaken Sadness wants to know, my VTX won't leave low power mode when armed, even when pit is turned off. Forsaken Sadness, here's the number one reason why that happens. Here in Betaflight, I'm going to go into the video transmitter tab, and oh, whoops, hold on. Let's fake like we've got a video transmitter hooked up. So we'll turn smart audio on here, and we'll go to the video transmitter tab. And we're going to need a VTX table loaded up. So hold on. 1 second. Let me load up. Let me grab a VTX table just from anywhere. It doesn't matter. So we'll go to the CLI tab. We'll paste this VTX table in. So I don't care what. I'm just trying to get some dummy data. Okay, so here we are. What most likely causes your video transmitter to lock itself at low power, and that's going to be either 25 milliwatts or pit mode, is that here in your VTX table, the power values that you've put in are incorrect for what the VTX is expecting. So these power values tell the VTX what output power you want it to use. And because Betaflight doesn't want to risk outputting some power value that is like illegal in your area, like too much output power, what they do is, if the power values are not correct for what the VTX expects, the VTX simply locks itself at its lowest output power, which is either 25 milliwatts or pit mode. Different VTXs do different things. So for example, this VTX table that I've loaded is the Smart Audio 2.0 VTX table. And in Smart Audio 2.0, the power values go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the VTX knows that power level 0 is 25, 200, 500, 800, okay? If this was a nano VTX, then the VTX table might be, I don't know that VTX table off the top of my head. It might be this, okay? Now notice that previously power level 2 was 500 milliwatts. But for the nano VTX, maybe it's 400 milliwatts. And the idea is this, the VTX, it's just an index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many, and the VTX knows what the output power is. Now, let's say we had a nano VTX and we gave it this VTX table. But the nano VTX says, whoa, no, I don't support power level 3. I don't know what that is. It would lock itself at 25 milliwatts, and that would be it. The other thing is, like Smart Audio 2.1, which is what the new Pro 32 VTXs use. That one, hang on, I will show you. That one has a whole different way of doing the power values. So let me grab that real quick. Yeah, okay. So this is Smart Audio 2.1 like you would use for a Unify Pro 32, not the older Unify Pro. And on these, the power values go 14, 20, 26, 36, where that is the dBm value for this milliwatts. So it's 14, 20, 26, 36. Okay, where 36 is the max. And if you've got a Smart Audio 2.1 Unify Pro 32 and you try and put the Smart Audio 2.0 VTX table in, again, it won't like that and it'll lock it down. So most likely you have put the wrong power values in and your VTX is locking itself down. The other thing to keep in mind is that these values here, the labels, these do not mean anything. That is completely valid. And if you want to, I mean, that would be dumb of you to do, but you could do it. This is just a label that the OSD shows on screen when you select this power level. So sure, yeah, 25 milliwatts, that makes a lot of sense. 100, 400, 1 watt, that, yeah. That makes sense, but these values will not cause anything to go wrong. Like you go, haha, wait a second, haha, now I'm getting 800 milliwatts. Oh, wait a second, haha, 3 watts, haha, take that, regulators. No, that you will see that number on your screen, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't change the output power. Okay, so that's the answer to your question. I want to get something. I want to get something out of the way real quick before we get too much further into the stream. And then we're going to read some super chats. I want, in case you guys missed the video on my channel yesterday. You know this film Flow State, the FPV documentary that I've been telling you is so cool, and you guys have been like, "Great, when can we watch it?" And I've been like, "Never! Screw you!" Okay, something like that. You can watch it now, not now, but soon. Here's what you can do. So we've been accepted into the Golden Gate International Film Festival, and they're having virtual showings, which means that anywhere in the world, you can buy for $15, oh, and a $2 fee, $3 fee, fine, $2.55 fee. So for $18, you can buy a slot, right? And then, okay, hang on, I'm not going to do this right now. I'm obviously going to buy a ticket. And then starting, there's going to be a screening on Monday, November 8th at 6 p.m. And there's going to be a Q&A Monday, November 8th at 8 p.m. That's Pacific Time, U.S. You can watch the film with everybody. Like, you can watch it stream, or anytime, if you can't make it then, anytime between November 8th through 14th, you can watch the film. Okay? So this is the first chance that the public at large is able to actually watch the film. Probably, like, on the day, Monday, November 8th at 6 p.m., probably we're going to do some kind of a live event, like me and James, and maybe some other folks will do a live stream where we'll watch the film and so forth. We'll commentate and so forth. You can watch it with us. And then, of course, we've got the Q&A afterwards, which you'll get with your festival ticket. The reason I'm making a big deal out of this is that this is the first time when somebody, like, we got into a couple festivals before. Of course, it was cool. We're very thankful. We've won some awards. That's amazing. But this festival is sponsored by AMC Theaters and NBC, Bay Area NBC. And that's kind of a big deal. Like, AMC is kind of, if AMC Theaters like our film or notice it, maybe that's a big deal. So this is the first time when James said to me, James Christensen, the director and everything else, he was like, this is it. We need to, push this right now. So if you've been waiting to see the film, by all means, buy a ticket. Please buy a ticket. Don't just, like, stream. I don't know how you would get it any other way, but these ticket numbers really matter. I said this in the release video. None of that ticket money is going into my pocket or James's pocket. It's all going to the festival. So it's only for the longer term success of the movie, because the big picture goal is to get it on a streaming platform and have everybody in the world, including, like, your mom, wanting to watch it. Normal people. That's the big picture goal. The little picture goal is to make back the money and time that was put into making it. But I mean, if it was just about that, maybe at some point we'd say, well, this is our gift to the world. Take it, enjoy it. But really, only by getting it on large-scale distribution can we get it in front of normal people who need a more positive, better picture of what drones can be. And that's the big picture goal for the film. So if you've been wanting to see it and you've got $18 to buy a ticket, please do. And then you'll be able to watch it between the 8th and the 14th. And we're going to put together some kind of a live event Monday the 8th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So anyway, now that that's out of the way, let's get some of these super chats. Eric McGreevy, when can we watch it? You can watch it. I just told you that part. You can watch it. Golden Gate International Film Festival, starting on Monday, November 8th. 8th through the 14th, on demand. But there will be a live event Monday, November 8th. Morior Invictus, I used the SFG arms on the 533 Racing build. All right, let's get some of these super chats out of the way. Justin Rice, thank you for a $9.99 super chat. Just wanted to say thanks for all the videos and sharing information. Just finished flying my first build from the ground up. Learned a lot of unique steps from my specific flight controller that I wasn't expecting. Justin Rice, thank you so much for the super chat. Crabtree FPV, thanks for $5. No Factorio today, Crabtree. I thought I would be responsible and professional. Forsaken Sadness, thanks for a $2 super chat. No message, just a super chat. Warren Hammerstrom, thanks for a $5 Canadian super chat. Canadian. What's your take on the new T-Lite Pro teasers? What's your thought about surface transmitters and someone making a multi-protocol module surface transmitter? So the T-Lite Pro is a new teased radio from Jumper. It's basically like, it's like a bastard baby of a Tango 2 and a DJI controller. It looks, I mean, if you like a gamepad style controller, the Jumper T Lite is good. It's pretty solid. It's had okay build quality and I mean, it's not perfect, but for the price, it's pretty decent. Nick Burns even switched to it as his daily driver, which was a big part of me going, I guess maybe this is okay. The T-Lite Pro, the T Pro or whatever they're calling it, the big thing about it is that it's got Express LRS built in. And of course, that's very, very exciting. A radio with Express LRS built in instead of FreeSky. Some people are going to wish it had a multi-protocol module, but of course, if it's got an adapter, a module bay, you could always put a multi-protocol module on the back if you prefer. We'll have to see how I'm excited to see more radios coming out with Express LRS in them. I would love for Express LRS to become sort of the default, where normally a vendor says, I don't know, what receiver should we put on this bind and fly? I guess FreeSky, fine. Everything has FreeSky. I would love to see Express LRS become that, the default go-to. We'll see how it goes. What about a Surface radio? You know, nobody seems to make OpenTX Surface radios. There's a 3D printed mod for the QX7 where you rip the guts out of a QX7 and you turn it into a Surface, like a trigger style radio with a wheel. But nobody seems to actually make one. And I just got to think that OpenTX, the programmability of OpenTX is most desirable when you're flying an aircraft or a multi-rotor. That on the surface level, you got 3 channels and you're good. Maybe 2 channels and you're good. That people just don't want that complexity. So you just don't see radios with OpenTX, and therefore you don't see radios with Crossfire and so forth, multi-protocol Express LRS. They're all like Futaba or Spectrum. I mean, I think that it would be cool if that existed, because obviously these control links are amazing for surface as well as for aircraft. But it just doesn't seem like there's demand from the people who are into surface vehicles, cars, trucks, crawlers, etc. just don't seem to overlap enough with the people who are into FPV to sort of get the demand over there. So there you go. L. Leston asks, is OpenTX dead? The progress on the next release of OpenTX over on the GitHub page is stuck at 85%. It's not dead per se, but it is progressing very slowly towards the next major release, and that's why EdgeTX came out. EdgeTX is basically a fork of OpenTX that's designed to be a little faster moving. And L. Leston, if you just want to feel like there's been some motion, check out EdgeTX. You can flash it onto your radio and see what kind of things they're coming up with over there. Joe B4 Eiley says, I use my Radiomaster TX16 and Crossfire on a bait boat. Yeah, obviously you can use a traditional, 2-stick controller to control a boat or a car, but most people who drive ground vehicles want a trigger style controller. At least cars. I don't know about boats, but Noob Deluxe, thanks for a $10 super chat. I've been flying about 6 months and I'm slowly making my way through the backlog of Bardwell videos. Even had a video about my TS100, because of course he does. Thank you so much, Noob Deluxe. Cyclimbo official. Is this in fact Cyclimbo official, or it must be because you're marked as a patron and everything? I'm going to assume you're the real Cyclimbo. Usually when people make an official account, it means there's been a clone account, but I guess not. Would you say EdgeTX is worth upgrading to? Generally speaking, from OpenTX, are not worth it unless looking for a specific feature. Yeah, Cyclimbo, if I had to weigh in, I would say that EdgeTX is not worth it unless you're looking for a specific feature. EdgeTX is still a little rough around the edges. Now, the recent release of EdgeTX 2.5 went a long way towards smoothing out some of that roughness and making it more of a polished product. The main reasons to go with EdgeTX today are, number one, you want a feature that EdgeTX has. Like, if you have a QX7, EdgeTX lets you avoid doing the inverter mod. It does in software whatever you need to do. EdgeTX fixes this issue with USB latency when using your controller as a game controller for a sim. One of the reasons your simulator feels like crap might be that there's a bug in OpenTX that causes high latency on the USB port when you're using it as a controller. And so if you do a lot of sim playing with your radio, you might switch to EdgeTX to fix that. The other reason you might switch to EdgeTX is you just are excited about this new product. It has touchscreen support. It has widgets. You can have like full screen widgets that can do things that widgets and apps can't do in OpenTX. There's all this promise for what EdgeTX is going to give you in the future. And if you're very interested in experiencing that, you may want to flash. But for a typical person who is basically happy with OpenTX, 500 hertz polling on the gimbals. EdgeTX can do that. Should make that a video. I was just thinking I should make a video about who should switch to EdgeTX. Let's see. Let's see. Reasons to switch to EdgeTX. Let's see. Reasons to switch to EdgeTX today. QX7 inverter mod, 500 hertz stick polling, and USB joystick latency fix. Any other killer reasons to switch? Any other killer reasons to switch? Touchscreen support. I mean, to me, that's not, I guess. Like, I don't know if that would, like, be enough of a killer. I guess the chat is saying that it is. All right, fine. Touchscreen support. Ooh, Nirvana NV14 support. Yes. Thank you. Thank you guys for writing my content for me. People are asking if you lose your models and settings when you go to EdgeTX. You do not. It converts them over. You could screw it up and lose them, but you don't have to. There's a process for keeping them. Baron Beans says color screen users like TX16S do not need to restore models and settings. Black and white radio users will need to back up and prepare for restoring models. Interesting. Yeah. All right. So those are some of the key reasons to jump to EdgeTX, or if you're just curious. Owen Peaker says they lost all the model settings. I don't think you have to, but you do need to get the steps right. Brandon Beans is pointing out, if you have a black and white dot matrix style screen like the QX7, you must manually back up your models in the model selection screen. You must manually back them up, and then they'll, oh, interesting. Brandon Beans, that's what's different. On the color screen, it automatically stores the models in the models folder. On the black and white screen radios, you have to manually back them up to put a copy in the models folder. And then they're that's interesting. Okay. John Goblin points out active dev support is the #1 reason. Yeah, because today these things like the QX7 inverter fix or touchscreen support, these are things that people have wanted for a long time, and the OpenTX devs have been like, yeah, we'll get them out there, the next major release. That was 2 years ago. Still, I remember when the Nirvana NV14 came out, and they said, there will officially be support in OpenTX 2.4. How long ago was that? August 2018, 2021. Over 3 years ago. That's how long we've been waiting for OpenTX 2.4. That's how long. We've been waiting for OpenTX 2.4. Because I remember the Nirvana was released and it was not supported in OpenTX. And if I remember correctly, could it have been 2.3? I don't think it was. You know what? If only there was a way to know when this stuff got released, like a website, with dates on it. Jesus, Joshua, what a concept. OpenTX 2.3.0, 2019. 2019. September 2019. This is June 2018. August, June, July, August. Well, it must have been, it wasn't supported in 2.3 though. Well, I'm not sure my timelines are correct. So maybe it's been a long damn time is my point. When did 2.3? 2.3 came out in September 2019. So that's still more than 2 years ago that we've been waiting for 2.4. How is their release schedule? 2.2 was 2017. Well, they're on track. About 2 years between releases. Fine. Anyway, if you want more responsive devs, more quick-moving devs who solve problems without, yeah. Ian Madstech in the Discord says, OpenTX is no longer relevant. EdgeTX is where it's at. I feel like that isn't quite true today, but it may become true. Because the further ahead EdgeTX gets and the more polished it gets, the less relevant OpenTX will be. Obviously, EdgeTX is a fork of OpenTX, so it's built on OpenTX. But look what happened with Betaflight and CleanFlight. Betaflight rushed out ahead with new features, and eventually CleanFlight was like, okay. And CleanFlight rebased. CleanFlight 2.0 basically rebased against Betaflight and became Betaflight somewhat. So as of today, EdgeTX, I think, is not definitively, it's not quite polished enough to be like a finished, it's used, I'm not saying it's not usable. I'm just saying some people would consider it a little sort of beta-y. I think the devs would agree it's not feature complete, although I'm not 100% sure about that. But it's coming. Tim Gutentag, are you sure you said that right? Trappy said there will be no further development of EdgeTX. You mean OpenTX, I think. I think you mean OpenTX. Van says, class action suit. TX16 advertised 2.4 it for sales. I want my money back. The TX16 has 2.4 gigahertz radio in it. What have you misunderstood, Van? I think you've misunderstood something. AK Drone Flyer, you bought a ticket from Eventbrite? Are they doing their sales through Eventbrite? The instructions, AK Drone Flyer, the instructions for how to watch are on the Golden Gate International Film Festival. Go to Screenings 2021. Here is screening instructions. And here are the login instructions for screening. It's all on the Golden Gate International webpage. Golden Gate uses Eventbrite. Okay, yeah. Go to the Golden Gate International webpage. Go to Screenings 2021. And then right here it says, click here to see instructions about how to view. And it is slot S for the FPV documentary. Death FPV says, I think Van was thinking about 2.4 gig Express LRS. I see. He's talking about OpenTX 2.4. Yeah. Well, I mean, Radio Master sold the Radio Master TX16S, and they said in OpenTX 2.4 you will get touchscreen support. That's a true statement. I mean, there's no class action there. Radio Master isn't in charge of when OpenTX 2.4 releases. The OpenTX devs were like, "Yeah, we'll get right to that," and then they didn't. It's not Radio Master's fault. They didn't mislead you. Edge, if you want touchscreen support, EdgeTX has it. You can flash it. Harry Props FPV, thanks for a $10 super chat. What is the best ExpressLRS module, the best fitting module bay cover for the TX16S that I can order? My Happy model occasionally has a bad connection, and I have trouble getting it going. I think probably today the Naminmo module, from the people who I know who work on the ExpressLRS project and are using all the different hardware, my impression is that the Naminmo has the best sort of plastic mold. The Happy Model 1 is known to have fitment issues. Does anybody in the chat want to jump in and tell me different? I'm going to say the Naminmo module has the best case. Ian Madstech says the Naminmo for sure. John Goblin says, I bought a Naminmo from Banggood 4 weeks ago. It still hasn't shipped. Ouch. Mo says, I agree, Mo. Maytech needs to make a module. They've made receivers, but not a module. Jory says, if you've got the very first Happy Model module, the second one comes with a case that fits much better. Maybe that's the issue. Dan636, thanks for a $5 super chat. I got my quad flying great now. Thanks for all the useful information you shared. Thank you, Dan, for the kind words. Daniel ST wants to know if you could put the Radio Master CNC gimbals on a Jumper T18 Pro. I don't know the answer to that, Daniel. Are gimbals cross-compatible between Radio Master and Jumper? Can anybody tell me the answer? This has to be something people have looked into before, but I don't know the answer. I mean, the radios are very, very similar. Some would say Radio Master is a copy of Jumper. Jeffy the Quick says they are cross-compatible in the Discord. If that's what he's asking. If that's what he's answering. Sir Crashalot FPV, thank you for 50 Norwegian krona. A small amount of money, but a big thank you for the help and solutions. And days like this, Bardwell live on YouTube. Thank you guys for coming out. Anthony DeStefano, good to see you again, sir. Thank you for a $5 super chat. I've been flying DJI for over a year, but I just started with analog rapid fire. Can you explain video channels and how to tune? Why'd you go from DJI back to analog? I don't know. Okay. Anthony DeStefano, I'm going to answer your question, but I'm also going to refer you to this video. This video, Anthony DeStefano, about FPV video channel interference best practices. The short version is that you probably should use raceband. Raceband, if we look at the channel... If we look at this FPV channel chart, this gives you a picture of how all the different channels are laid out. We've got these frequencies between about 5650 and 5925 megahertz. And different manufacturers slice those up differently. So A band, B band, E band, F band, R band, etc. Those are all just different ways of dividing up this frequencies between 5650 and 5975 or 5925. So you can see, for example, on the A, B, and the E band, the channels overlap slightly and can interfere with each other if you're on adjacent channels, and that's why same for the F band. That's why nobody uses those. Most people don't use those today. Most people today are just going to stick to raceband. They're going to stick to raceband because the channels don't overlap. And you're just going to use channels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Ideally, you want to split people up as much as possible. So if your buddy's on channel 1, you would want to be on channel 4 or 6 or 8. If you got 3 people flying, you'd be on like 1, 4, and 8. 4 people flying, you might be on 1, 3, 5, and 8. right? That's the gist of it. The other thing to keep in mind is you want to stay away from DJI. So DJI channel 8 is their public channel, and that corresponds to raceband 6. So if there's a DJI pilot flying with you, you're going to want to stay off of raceband 6. Yeah, that's the short version. L. Leston wants to know if Express LRS can be flashed to a FreeSky RXSR receiver. No, it cannot. FreeSky RXSR does not have the LoRa chipset, the Semtech chip that does the LoRa stuff that is required. Righteous Skill 45. Thank you for a $5 super chat. I have... Go away. There we go. Oh, sorry, a window popped up. I've been looking at getting the Jumper T18 Pro V2. Should I use the T18 Pro V1 target in EdgeTX for the time being? You could give it a try. I mean, the worst thing that'll happen is you'll have to reflash it, probably. I don't know for sure. If you really want to know, you should get on the EdgeTX Discord server and ask the devs. Death FPV is saying he's got the Happy Model Express LRS module with the black module bay module case and has nothing to complain about. I also have the black one, and I got to tell you, a lot of the time when I put it in the back of my radio, I have to wiggle it to get the pins to line up. So, I mean, it's fine, but I have to wiggle it to get the pins to line up. Okay. SidX64 says, I hate the Happy Model antennas for both the receiver and the transmitter. I wish they made better ones. SidX, I must point out, Blunty and I talked about this on the news. We do the FPV news every Tuesday at 6 p.m. if you want to keep up with what the latest goings-on in FPV are, including, you know, fun news items as well as public service announcements and other stuff. That's 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesdays. We covered that somebody put a bunch of the Happy Model antennas on a network analyzer and basically said as far as radio frequency design goes, they are like perfect. They said they were amazing and didn't just test one, but tested like 3 or 4. So say what you will about the Happy Model antennas, at least as far as their RF performance goes, they are exceptionally good, at least the ones this guy tested. Christian Merkovich says, I wonder if your old JBF4 flight controller supports Crossfire Nano receiver or not. Yeah, I mean, it supports Betaflight, so why wouldn't it support Crossfire? I guess I'm a little confused about your question. Okay. We're coming up on the hour. Owen Peaker asks, baud rate on GPS? Owen, I am gonna blank on this. So I apologize that this answer isn't as helpful as it could be. Once upon a time, I was going to work on a video about getting better GPS performance. And I started doing research for the video. And when I talked to guys like Pavel Spikowski, I realized that there were a lot of hurdles to getting the best GPS performance, that it wasn't as simple as just change this one setting and then you're good. And I ended up not making the video because I didn't want to put a video out that wasn't as sort of helpful as it could be. Well, I didn't think it would be very helpful. One of the things that I did, or I considered doing, was increasing the baud rate of the GPS. Because I thought, you know, they default to 9600 baud, but if you turn the baud rate up, then you'll get faster updates. And I don't remember why. But I ended up concluding that that was a bad idea. And I can't remember, is it because the GPS just doesn't need the faster baud rate? Is it because, like, the processor on the GPS unit can't handle the faster baud rate? It bogs down? I don't remember. But I do remember thinking, oh, I'm going to be such a smart guy. I'm going to show them how to change their baud rate, and then their GPS is going to work better. And then later I was like, oh, that was dumb. Nope, there's a reason they all ship on 9600 baud. I wish, if anybody in the chat has any more insight, let me know. I can't remember, because then I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to make that video, and I moved on with my life. SidX64, the Tracer does have LoRa. That's what, it has the LoRa, the Semtech chipset. Owen Peaker says 57600 is the standard setting. I mean, I hate to disagree with you, Owen. A lot of GPS ship with 9600 as the default. Obviously, they can ship with anything they want. Daytona FPV says a GPS only ever really updates at 1 hertz, and 9600 BPS is perfectly fine. If you're running U-Block's protocol at 10K, then really 576 is where you need to be, or 10 hertz. Yeah, but isn't there a reason? That was another thing I was going to tell people to do, was turn on U-Blocks and have 10 hertz updates. But there was a reason why that doesn't work. That doesn't work great either. And I don't remember what it was, because like I said, once I realized I wasn't going to make the video, and I was kind of, all my clever ideas about, maybe it's in my chat with Pavel. Let me go look at my chat log with Pavel Spakowski. Maybe I can find it. Let's just... Oh, yeah. I actually don't talk to him as often as you might think, so... Aha! Yeah, I found it. Here it is. Hey, man, I am working on a video about how to improve GPS performance on shitty Betaflight builds. So he says that the issue with getting GPS fixed is hardware. I asked him if going to 10 hertz or baud rate would be useful. You should use U-Block's auto configuration. He says 10 hertz is rather sketchy at best. Even the latest GPS modules struggle to keep up at 10 hertz. U-Block's defaults to 5 hertz. Betaflight also uses 5 hertz U-Blocks. Okay, I see. So the reason I didn't make the video was that Betaflight and iNav both automatically configure the GPS to 5 hertz. So there's nothing for you to do, like in uCenter to configure your GPS. And there's no point in using uCenter unless you're using NMEA, which you shouldn't be using. You should just use U-Block. So basically, all of the stuff that you would do is done automatically. Then I asked about baud rate. Baud rate is part of auto configuration. What you set in the port settings is a target baud rate. No need to configure anything. I see. Okay. So I guess there's still maybe an advantage to baud rate, but all you need to do in Betaflight is go to the ports tab and change the baud rate. It's possible that a faster baud rate would work, but I guess they're only doing 5 hertz, not 1 hertz. So the takeaway, I guess, for GPS configuration is, yes, that was why I didn't make the video, because I was going to show you guys how to use the U command software to configure your GPS unit. And what I learned from Pavel Spakowski, thank you, Pavel, for that. What I learned from him was that it's all done automatically, that you don't need to do any. So in Betaflight, you would, where's the GPS? You would enable GPS, and you would change protocol to ublocks and autobaud and autoconfig. And then if you want to, you can go to the ports tab and you can set GPS and change the baud rate to something, and it'll auto-configure the baud rate. But that's it. That's basically all you got to do. There you go. And use Galileo. Is that true? Is there any reason not to use Galileo? Oh, yeah. Unless you're in Japan, maybe. All right. And then as Ian points out in the Discord, the real way to get the best performance out of your GPS is physical things like mounting and electrical isolation. Right? That's actually how you need to do it. Wrongway FPV is talking about MadTech's review of the DJI Action 2, saying it sucks. Wrongway, and MadTech is in the Discord. He is a patron. Thank you. Does he have a Patreon? I should certainly be his patron. Lord knows I refer to him enough. He's in the Discord, so if he disagrees with anything I say here, he can speak right up. But I watched MadTech's review. It wasn't really a review, was it? It was a sort of a review. But he basically said he was returning his DJI Action 2. And one of the reasons he said he was returning it was that it overheats. And I thought to myself, that sucks. Okay. But lots of cameras will overheat if you run like 4K with no airflow. Like I remember watching, there's a YouTube channel called Gerald Undone, and he does camera lighting stuff, photography stuff, videography stuff. And when he reviews a camera, a high-end, thousands of dollars, like a Sony, a Canon, a Nikon, etc., he'll talk about how long can you record at 4K or 8K or 6K. How long can you record without the camera overheating? So cameras overheating when they run at high resolution is a thing that happens even on very high-end cameras. And the best of them don't do it. Like the Sony a7S III. It's like a $5,000 camera body, if my memory's correct. Maybe that's with a kit lens. I don't remember. But it can record 4K or 6K, whatever its max resolution is. It can record for hours at a time without overheating. Oh my God, it's so good. So then you take this little DJI Action camera. You're like, oh, it's going to overheat. Well, okay, good to know. But number one, Madsec says, I'll be clear that it's not for FPV. That's what I was wondering, though. That's what I was wondering, Ian, because when I think about the camera overheating, I think, number one, I don't record FPV at 4K. Now, if you're doing like Cinewhoop stuff, maybe you want 4K, you want the max resolution. But I don't fly freestyle at 4K. It just makes gigantic files. And there's no benefit, in my opinion. I usually shoot either 1080 or 2.7K. The main goal is to get the highest bit rate that you can. But in my experience on GoPros, you get like, I don't remember the number. You get like 75 megabits per second at 2.7K. And you get like 100 megabits per second at 4K. And your actual bits per pixel is worse on 4K. So you actually, in my experience, for FPV on a GoPro, you get worse looking images, worse looking video at 4K than at 2.7K. I haven't tested the Hero 9 and 10, but for the Hero 7 and 8, that was my take. I don't think it's, unless you're doing slow moving stuff, for freestyle 4K there's no point. That's my take. Not every, I know some pros who shoot at 4K and think it's worth it. So that's not a settled, that's just my opinion. So the other thing is that there's going to be airflow. I hit record on my DJI Action, I set my quad down, and I go fly. It's not going to overheat while I'm flying, surely, right? Surely. And that was Ian says in the Discord, My review was not for FPV. This was just disappointment for general use. Yes, I took that as well. That if what you want is an action camera that you can kind of hold up and blog with, then the overheating is completely valid, and kudos to Ian for bringing it up. That everybody who has reviewed it so far, like if you watch a review from Potato Jet or Corridor Digital or any of these, Peter McKinnon, did they talk about the overheating issue? But when like Rotor Riot reviews it, I don't blame them for only talking about it as an FPV camera. That's obviously where their focus is. I mean, I certainly wouldn't, if they had said, oh, by the way, when you shoot handheld, it overheats, and you can't just leave it running on the bench for hours at a time. I mean, I wouldn't have been like, that's why would you say that? If they had included it. But, I mean, you take a 10 or 12-minute video and you only put so much in it and you focus on FPV. I guess what I'm saying is I still think it could be a good FPV camera. And if you say, well, it overheats on 4K without airflow, absolutely that's a defect, because it's sold as a 4K camera, and if it needs external airflow to run, then that deserves to be pointed out. And again, kudos to Ian for pointing it out. At the same time, I wouldn't consider it a deal breaker. As an FPV camera, surely, even if you shoot 4K, the airflow is probably going to be plenty to keep it cool. And even if you shoot handheld, like the size of the files alone for 4K means that I only shoot 4K when I absolutely need it. And I know that, like, I'm the odd man out here, that pros always shoot at 4K, and they just deal with the gigantic files. So, you know, that's worth, but it's not a deal breaker for me. Wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. Anyway. The other thing is it's got 32 gig of internal storage. So if it overheats, if you're shooting 4K, it's going to fill that up really fast. Alrighty. I have ordered, by the way, my Action 2. It will be coming from Best Buy. On November 2nd, they're going to ship it. And I'll be doing a review of it. But there won't be anything from me until then, because DJI did not include me in the pre-release. So. Mike Crabtree, I'm with you, man. 2.7K, 60 FPS, ISO 400. That is what, in my opinion, you get the best results out of a GoPro for FPV flight. We'll see if that's true for the Action 2. I was gonna say before I had a thought about looking up this conversation with Pavel Spikowski. I want to let you guys know that I have a Livestream clips channel. I'm going to put a link in the video, in the chat. This channel, it has clips from my live stream. So as I'm doing the live stream, I'll make a note that I need to put this on the clips channel. So highlights from my live streams, as well as the individual segments from the FPV news. So if you don't get to watch the whole live stream, and obviously I would love you to watch the whole live stream because my analytics love that. But if you don't get to watch the whole live stream, you can go subscribe over here. Oh, I should subscribe to my own channel. There we go. Now I'm subscribed to my own channels. Go ahead and subscribe over here. Hit that notification bell. I've been doing uploads every week, every night at midnight. I upload 1 or 2 clips so I don't spam your feed. And yeah, would love to have your subscription over there if you are interested in that. I'll put a link right there. Check that out. Jeffy the Quick wants to know, I'm looking to upgrade the GPS unit on my HDLRC Recon 6. I know it's supposed to be recon, but that's not how you say the word REKON, and it confuses me. I want to use iNav. What do I do with the SDA SCL pins? Those are the compass, Jeffy. If your flight controller doesn't break out the SDA and the SCL pins, then you probably can't use the compass. You probably can't. Like on some flight controllers, it's possible to remap a UART to be, usually it's UART 3. On some flight controllers, you can remap a UART to be SDA SCL, but in general, if you don't have them already, you're not going to get them. Now, you can use the GPS without compass, but not with iNav. iNav wants the compass. So basically, that's the thing, though. iNav's requirements for their flight controller targets are, iNav will not make a target for a flight controller that doesn't have the SDA-SCL because it wants the compass. So if your flight controller can run iNav, then I would think it must have SDA-SCL pins for a compass. Otherwise, why would it run iNav? 507RC wants to know if they'll let me have a vanity URL for this channel yet. Let's see. Customization. Basic info. I can! Oh, I can! Oh, it just happened! I literally... But no, I don't want that. Oh. I don't want that. Oh, wait, this is... I see. No, switch account. Oh, damn. I was like, that's my other channel. Oh, I just hadn't... Hang on. Well, no. No, not yet. Damn. How about monetization? How am I doing for monetization? 741 subscribers out of 1,000, so I'm pretty close there. And 238 watch hours out of 4,000. Got a ways to go on my watch hours. But I'll get there. We'll get there. All right. Chibi Kaiju points out that iNav does not require a compass if you're flying fixed wing. Oh yeah, fixed wings exist. Whoops, my bad. What do I need to get the vanity URL? I think it's like 1,000 subscribers. Is it 1,000? That would explain why I don't have it. Is it 1,000? I thought I should have it by now. Hang on. What does it take to get the vanity URL? 100 subscribers, 30 days old, and uploaded a profile picture and banner image. I've done all those things. As far as I can tell, I should be able to get a custom URL. So, like, I have a profile picture. I have a banner image. I have 100 subscribers. No. I have 100 subscribers, and my channel is at least 30 days old. The only thing I wonder is maybe it's when you first upload content. I created the channel more than 30 days ago. Have I? October 25th? I don't know. Is the channel had content? September 22nd, October. Yeah, maybe it's that the channel, it doesn't think the channel is 30 days old because it's only been uploading content for about a month. Anyway, hopefully soon. Hard Gamer World asks, why does my video go black after full throttle? I still see the OSD, but the video won't come back. If you have black screen with OSD, the only thing that could cause that is the camera is either powering down or the video wire between the camera and the flight controller is disconnecting. The question I would ask is, when the video comes back, does it seem like the camera just power cycled? Do you get like the RunCam logo? You know, the things the camera does on screen when it power cycles. Does it do those things? Or does it just come back as if nothing happened? That's how you know whether it's the power or whether it's the video wire. It's one of those two things. Marius Mammerler, thank you for €5. Marius is asking about the DJI Action 2. Kind of talked about that. Thank you for the super chat. JK Arbuckle, thanks for a big $25 super chat. That's a big super chat. Thank you for your generosity, JK. Thanks again for your help with the Crossfire 69. I never would have gotten there without your knowledge and help. I'm so glad I was able to help, JK. Hard Gamer World says the camera doesn't come back at all. It stays black until I restart the drone. It's one of two things, man. It's either the power or the video wire but it's not the flight controller and it's not the video transmitter. Otherwise you wouldn't have OSD, right? So replace the wire harness going to the camera. Like, that's a place to start. If the camera is run off like a 5-volt regulator, maybe it's browning out, although you would expect it to come back. Power the camera off of 9 volts or VBAT, assuming it's rated for that. Those are some things you could try. You could just have a bad camera. Yeah, I mean, I don't want, if you have a spare camera, swap it out. But I don't want to be just like, yeah, throw out the camera, because we don't know for sure the camera's bad. Dog Tanyan FPV suggests the 5-volt regulator is on its way out. But if the 5-volt regulator was dying, the receiver would also power down, and then you would fail-safe. So the fact that you don't fail-safe tells me that probably it's not the 5-volt regulator, assuming the camera is powered from 5 volts, which it may not be. MixWiz, thank you for a $2 super chat. Can you link a servo to the flight controller gyro for GoPro on Geyser? Yes, you can. So what I don't know if you want to do this, but if you've decided you want to do this, it is possible to do it. Does Nurk show it? Nurkala may have done this. Oh, does he show all the way to do it? Does he actually show how to set it up, though? Like in Betaflight? Like, Betaflight can do it. I don't know if he shows how to set it up. He just shows how it works. Yeah. So, that's a shame. So, what you're going to do... Oh, man. This is... Whew. This has been a long time since I've done this. Do you... Let's see. How do you do it? I'm going to try and at least point you in the right direction. There's a feature. Is it a feature still, or did they get rid of it? Hang on. Feature servo tilt. That's it. So there's a feature in Betaflight called servo tilt. And if you enable this feature, it's in configuration, feature servo tilt. This feature enables cam stab mode, which can be used to hold up to 2-axis steady using the accelerometer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enable servo tilt and save and reboot. Having done that, do I need to go to modes and enable cam stab? I may need to enable cam stab mode here in the modes tab. It's possible that it just is always enabled if you don't add a mode. I'm not sure about that. But let's go ahead and add a range. Whatever. We'll tie that to an aux channel. Okay. So now we've got cam stab enabled and tied to an aux channel. Next, we're going to go to the servos tab. I still don't... This is the part that I don't know. This is how you tie a servo to an aux channel. What do you do with the servos for the cam stab mode? That's the kicker. So the way it used to work way back when is that 2 of your motor outputs would become the servo outputs. And I don't know. And all of the old versions are for old flight controllers. Can you pin IO it? Can you pin IO it? No. No, that's the mode. Yeah, that's the place where I'm stuck. So the place where I'm stuck is we've enabled CamStab mode, and now Betaflight is outputting servo signals to counteract the pitch axis. Where is it outputting them? What it used to do back in the days of the NAS 32 is it would be like motor 1 and 2 would be pitch and roll, and that's where you'd hook your servo up, and you'd move your motors to outputs 3, 4, 5, and 6. How does that apply to a modern flight controller? I have no idea. I don't know, and I don't know how to tell you how to do it. So I would have to screw with it some more, and I don't know the answer, but good luck with that. I guess good luck with that. Does Andy Shen have a like is there a tutorial about how to assign it? Betaflight channel forwarding using servo tilt. That's from 2017. Can you manually reassign the channels like with resource remapping? I don't know. So that's as far as I can get you. Good luck. Vegas in the Discord asks, I crashed my Acroby and I lost video. Plugged into Betaflight and saw all my settings were lost. What would cause this kind of reset? Vegas, on some 1S Betaflight flight controllers, the Mobula 6 used to do this. If the battery goes below like 3.0 volts, the whole flight controller resets, like it loses its EEPROM. I don't know why. It was somewhere around 3 to 3.2 volts. But that's my best guess as to what happened. I haven't heard of the Acroby do this before. Luca Live asks, I have a ProTech 35 drone. I've done over 100 flights, and 3 times I had RX loss and the quad fell down. What could be the cause, or what causes RX loss? My RSSI is always between 90 and 99%. Luca Live, what control link are you using? Is it Crossfire, Ghost, Tracer, etc.? Bear in mind that RX loss can be caused. Let's talk about what can cause RX loss or failsafe. RX loss means that the flight controller no longer sees signal from the receiver. Okay. So the number one thing people think of when they think of RX loss is that you had a radio failsafe. You flew too far, and the radio link between the aircraft and your controller got too weak and it died. But your RSSI was so high. Bear in mind that interference can also cause RX loss. So you can think about this. If I'm talking at a normal volume, and you're standing right next to me, you can hear me. But if I'm talking at a normal volume and we are front stage at like a rock concert, you maybe couldn't hear me because the noise around us is so loud that even though my signal level hasn't changed, the noise is drowning me out. So if you're flying near a cell phone tower, or if you're flying in proximity of a strong radio transmitter, you can get a failsafe even though you have high RSSI, because you're getting interference. The number one way this happens today, I think, is with Crossfire. If you are set to the wrong region, you're on 915, but you're in Europe, so you're supposed to be using 868. Or you're on 868, and you're in the USA, and you should be using 915. That will cause interference from the cell towers, and you'll fail safe, even though your RSSI is high. Another thing so then that's radio failsafe. But let's assume that you didn't have a radio failsafe. Your radio link was good. RX loss can also be caused by, let's say you have a damaged receiver. Let's say you have a Crossfire receiver and you knocked one of those little capacitors off the edge, as is so common. Let's say that your power wire going to your flight controller has been damaged and is disconnecting. All of that will manifest as RX loss because the flight controller will lose connection with the receiver. So let's see, what controller is he using? Luca Live says he's using Immersion RC Ghost. So on Immersion RC Ghost, depending on whether you're using SRXL2 or Ghost or S-Bus, your RSSI reading may not be accurate. Those three different protocols all report RSSI to the flight controller differently. It's possible that you're reading like 90%, 99% RSSI, but actually it's not correct. Like Ghost, I think, reports it automatically via telemetry. S-Bus, you would need to use an aux channel to get RSSI or LQ. Yeah. Mouse FPV says, I've had the same issue with Ghost since upgrading to 150, but only on 500 hertz. So if you're running 500 hertz, definitely try going down to a slower one and see if that fixes it. The other thing to keep in mind is that your range is going to be a lot lower on 500 hertz than on 250 or lower. Luca Live is using SRXL2. So Luca, I think that SRXL2 reports the LQ. So RSSI is actually LQ, which is fine. You definitely shouldn't be fail-safing with an LQ of 90 to 99%. And are you using 500 hertz, Luca Live? Mouse FPV says it's happening on 500 hertz at about 100 meters. Yikes. So see, Lucas, see if it's if you are using 500 hertz. That's the outstanding question. Spencer Thorpe, thank you for a $5 super chat, Spencer. I want to build a sub 250 top mount freestyle quad, but I can't decide. Reckon 4 FR 4-inch 250 FPV cycle 4-eyed or the AOS 3.5. Yikes! Woo, woo! That's a tight lineup. So let's start by saying the Reckon 4 FR. I haven't flown it, but a lot of people have said great things about it in terms of my sub 250 page. So I'm looking forward to getting to try it out and potentially adding it to my sub 250 page on my website. By the way, did you guys know I have a website? Did you guys know about this? FPVknowitall.com. FPVknowitall.com. Ultimate FPV shopping list, including the new page we just added last week, the sub 250 parts. So check that out if you want recommendations for sub 250 stuff. So the Reckon 4 FR is probably good. The 250 is freaking amazing. Now, I've only flown the 5-inch 250, but presumably the 4-inch is also good. And you're going to get way better performance out of those 2004 motors on 4-inch props. They're smaller props, so they're going to have more torque and more responsiveness. As far as the FPV Cycle 4-eyed 4-inch, Bob Ruge makes great stuff as well, and it's probably made for his. I would guess it's for his 2104 motors, which are going to have even better performance than the 2004 motors that would typically be used on the 250. I haven't flown the 4-eyed frame, but again, Bob Ruge has a great reputation and makes great frames. And the AOS 3.5, Chris Rosser's AOS frame, yikes. So, to me, wow, this is a tough one. The Reckon 4 FR, am I right? This is the only one of these you can buy off the shelf. Built. It's probably a good choice because it's gotten a lot of recommendations from other people. And Reckon usually makes good stuff. My main hesitation would be, I'm pretty sure that Reckon comes with HDLRC electronics. Yeah. And I am, in general, not like a super fan of HDLRC electronics. But the Reckon line has been pretty solid so far, so perhaps we'll give it a pass. Reckon, it's got 1804 motors. Very interesting. Not quite 2004, but very interesting. Now, all of the others you're going to build yourself. Oh, you guys didn't see any of that. What an idiot. What an idiot. I was looking at it. Oh, there it is. I think of the remaining ones, I have been very, very interested in Bob Ruge's motors lately. Bob, show me them motors. His whole line of Imperial motors is incredibly intriguing to me. Where's that page on his... So I just ordered a set of his 16mm motors, and I ordered an AOS 3.5. Actually, Chris Rosser said he'd send me one. Thank you, Chris, for that. I'm sure that Bob would have sent me a 16mm motor too, but I didn't want to wait to get... I messaged Bob and was like, hey, Bob, what's up? And when he didn't reply to me immediately, I just went and bought them because, like, screw it. He's a busy man. Anyway, I'm going to be doing a 3.5-inch build with these 16mm motors, and I think it's going to absolutely rock. A typical motor for this size would be 1404, but this is a 16. I don't know the diameter. 1604. Stator volume is higher than 1605. Well, what is it then? A 1606? 160? I don't know. This comes in under 250 grams. For the 4-inch props, there's the 21mm motor, which is, it's like a 2004, but it's a 2104, I believe. Yes. So it's got another millimeter of height, which adds a lot of volume. And 2004, it's also got the M3 shaft. And it's got a 3mm shaft, I believe, which is going to be more durable than the 2mm shaft on most 2004 motors. So I want to get a set of these and try them on my 4-inch shocker. And I've got a set of these that I'm going to put on a 3.5-inch build. I think that these may be sort of redefining. I think the ones that intrigue me the most would be the 3.5-inch AOS 5 with the 16mm motors and the 4-inch 4-eyed with either the 21mm or the 23mm motors. But if you're trying to get under 250 grams, I think the 21mm motors are going to be the ones you want. The main catch there is going to be that they come with the M3 shaft, and there aren't a lot of props right now with the M3 shaft. You see this? It's not a T-mount shaft. It's an M3 shaft. Now, you can get... It comes with this adapter that adapts the shaft to an M5 prop. But most props for this weight class are T-mount. I think you're going to struggle. There used to be a ton. There used to be a ton of 3-inch and 4-inch props with an M5 mount, but not as much anymore. They're mostly T-mount these days. So I think your prop selection is going to be a little bit limited until we see more M3 shafts coming out, M3 props coming out. Other than that, though, I think these motors are very, very exciting. Mr. Huggy says you should have got the FPV cycle stack to go with the AOS 3.5. Should I? Is that Darwin FPV one? Oh, yeah. Get this $120. Jeez. Sheesh. Yeah. What flight controller am I going to put on it? Is that 30mm, though? Is the AOS 3.5? Does the AOS 3.5 have 30mm mounting? No, not sodium alpha olefin sulfonate. Does it have a 30mm mount? How would I know? It looks like it does. That's impressive. There aren't very many 30. Wait, is that 30 millimeter or is it AIO? It's a 25. It's a toothpick mount. Can the AOS 3.5 mount this? Does it have the diagonal? It doesn't look like it has the diagonal mounting holes. Anybody know the answer? I'm going to keep Pacific Northwest. Oh, no. My computer is a virus now. Wow. Okay. That was racy. People are saying yes, it does. I typed AOSRC.com. It's AOS-RC. Sorry about that, guys. It's either 25 millimeter or 20 millimeter mounting. It's not what it looked like. Can I see the... Oh, does it mount? It mounts up. I see. The hell? Does it cover that screw? Anyway. Yeah, I apologize, guys. I typed AOSRC.com and I got sent to another domain. The correct domain is AOS-RC. Well, that's tempting. I mean, may as well just make a kit out of it, huh? Yeah, maybe I'll have to pick this up for the kit. Anyway. All right. I see the bottom plate covers one of the screws. That's a little annoying. But, yeah. You have to mount the board. That's annoying, but maybe not the end of the world. Mike Crabtree, thank you for a $2 super chat. A 3.5 inch on the 16 millimeter motors will rip. Build it. May as well get this Darwin FPV stack while we're at it. Sure. I guess I don't. I was considering putting a Redux Air ESC in it, but I don't think it's going to come in time. So, all right, let me get my credit card information off screen before. Yeah, let's go ahead and buy this. Is that it? Did I buy it? Priority mail. Same as shipping address. Review order. Pay now. Boom. There went another $100. Welcome to the hobby. Morton Upshot, thank you for a $5 super chat. A 2S build using Mach 3 VTX Race Day Quad recommends battery voltage. Should I power the cam from the VTX or the flight controller? You may get cleaner video powering the camera from the VTX, but the wiring will be a little bit less clean. So, yeah. Drone FPV, thank you for a $1 super chat. Miguel T, thank you for a $5 super chat. PLA prints with the bed at 60. The edges of the first layer start to warp slightly when done. Any tips to avoid this? Miguel, the edges warping is probably not because of the bed temperature. It's probably because of the room temperature. It may be that if you leave the bed hot, then it will stay stuck better, as opposed to having the bed be hot for the first layer and then cool down for the subsequent layers. So it's possible that you can just keep the bed at a higher temperature. But the thing is, if you've got the bed at 60 or 70 degrees Celsius and the room is 20 degrees Celsius, especially if there's any moving air, you're gonna get lifted corners. Okay. Some people fight this by trying to get higher adhesion, and it does work. Like, you'll spray hairspray or use glue stick. If it sticks enough, then the edges won't lift. right? The plastic will solidify before it contracts, and then it'll stay. But I think that's a sort of a losing battle. Like, I don't know. My thought is that you should fix what's making it happen rather than try to fight it. And the way to fix it is, number one, don't have any drafts or airflow. Like if you've got it near like a air conditioning vent, that's a problem. But the real thing to do is to build an enclosure, and that sucks because that's a pain in the ass. So you can get these little pop-up enclosures for 3D printers. They're made basically of like tent fabric, and they have basically like tent poles, like flexible poles. And you like, if you can't find a 3D printer enclosure, you can buy a grow tent for cannabis, right? And you put your 3D printer inside this enclosure, and then that keeps the temperature and keeps drafts out, and it largely fixes it. Owen Peaker says you can just use a cardboard box. Yeah, if you have a great big cardboard box and some duct tape, you can build an enclosure. And that's actually the way to do it. Chase says, an enclosure doesn't have to be a pain in the ass. A single 4x8 sheet of insulation can be cut into a 5-panel enclosure. Absolutely. Gamma Gonad says the best solution is to throw your 3D printers in a closet. Oops. Yeah, absolutely. Don't freak out. Don't send me emails. Say like, hey, Bardwell, your address was on stream. Please don't. I appreciate your concern. But my address has been... I've had events at my house. Okay? I've had events at my house. It's okay. Anyway. Put them in a closet. It's a great solution. If you have a fire, you're going to wish you hadn't done that, but it does work. So. All right. Yeah, I've had flight events at my house, so, you know, that ship has sailed, if you will. Now, Kumi Bear points out, so let's say you don't want to use an enclosure. Kumi Bear points out that you could use a brim. You could add a brim, absolutely. You can add a brim in your slicer. Is it a brim or a raft? A raft will work even better. A brim might work, but a raft is going to work even better. But then you're wasting a lot of filament and time and breaking off the brim. Not a skirt. A skirt doesn't connect. Raft, skirts, and brims. Let's just be clear here. So a raft is like several layers printed below the object, which you then break off after you're done printing. A skirt is basically like a prime line around the object, but it doesn't connect with the object. I love skirt. I print a skirt on, I was about to say, I love skirts. Don't mean that how it sounds. A skirt is, I print a skirt before every print because, number one, if you have your print like off center accidentally, like let's say you accidentally selected the wrong printer, so your bed size isn't right, and it's going to print on the edge of the bed and it's going to go off the edge of the bed. Well, the skirt will tell you that. You'll see that the skirt is not centered right, and you'll be able to stop the print. And the other thing about a skirt is it lets you check your bed level, because if the skirt goes down and every part of the skirt line looks like it's got the correct height, then probably everything within it is also going to be the correct height. So I use a skirt for all my prints. It lets you check your first level and check your placement on the bed. And then a brim could help with the edges because a brim is going to be a one layer outline all the way up to the object. And that can help it with adhesion. IB King says he uses Elmer's white glue. I am just not freaking interested. Any bed prep that I need to do before I print, put down tape, put down Elmer's glue, spray it with hair. Screw you. You're fired. I'm going to buy a new print surface. Who got time for that nonsense? You think those guys running a printer farm with 20 printers, you think they're putting down Elmer's glue before every print? No. If my printer can't just print, then it's fired. Okay. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. Yes, Elmer's glue and hairspray work. Don't care. I will throw out the print surface and I will buy something else. I will find a way to not have to do that nonsense. Okay. Numbskull FPV says wipe with isopropyl alcohol. Numbskull, aren't there some beds that have like a treatment that if you wipe it with alcohol, then it takes the treatment off? I saw somebody saying that, but I can't tell if they were like trolling or not. Hello FPV, thank you for a $2 super chat. We will not be going back to that website. Shy Common, thank you for a $5 super chat. Can you look at a black box file and help with intermittent stepped set point? Shy, if you were clever, you would have already emailed me that file. So right this minute, I could go and look it up. Let's see if you thought enough to do that. Shy Common. Okay, I don't see you, Shy. I'm sorry. So yes, we can look at your black box file, but by the time you get it to me, it may be too late. Email it to me, Shy. Martin says, why is there a delay on arming if I put beeper and pre-arm on the same channel? Martin, because the motors may be used as a beeper. Okay? So I'm going to guess, Martin, that you're using D-Shot motor beeper. When the motors are being told to beep, they are interpreting the D-Shot inputs as digital commands. And if you then switch to sending motor signals, things can get messed up. So, Martin, what you've got is you've got pre-arm and beeper on the same switch. And there has to be a delay between the beeper going off and the motors arming, right? The motors need to finish beeping before the flight controller will let pre-arm activate. Shy Comment says, I sent it earlier. Here we go, Shy. I got it. Ooh, Shy Comment also signed up as a patron. Thank you, Shy. Shy, I don't see that. I don't see that. I see where you signed up as a patron. Thank you for that. I don't see anywhere you sent me. Are you Kaiser Soze? You must be Kaiser Soze. So what are you trying to figure out? What are you trying to figure out, Shy? Let's look at your black box log. He says stepped set point. All right, since we're talking about set point, let's go to stick tracking, which will show set point. And let's look at an axis. Am I doing it right, Shy? And let's wait till you actually start flying. And yeah, I see that your set point is stepped. So we've got this stair stepping in your set point, and that's what you're concerned about. At time 40. Oh, does it get worse? So at time 40, I mean, your set point looks okay, honestly. It doesn't look... now here we've got stairs. There we got some stair stepping, boy-o. That's some big stair stepping there. Yes, sir. Where is RC command? Let's have a look at RC command. So no surprise, the stair stepping corresponds to steps in RC command. But the big question is, does RC command always do it? And the answer is no. RC command is smooth here, but then suddenly becomes unsmooth and stair-steppy right here. Smooth. RC command is red. Smooth. And then RC command. Well, no. What are we looking at? Roll. We're looking at roll. Can I see just the roll axis, please? Okay, let's do this. Let's get rid of this. Go away. No, no. Ah, phooey. Stick tracking. Roll. Graph setup. Add field. RC command roll. Save changes. That's what I want. And let's get rid of that. And we'll turn Expo on. And we got smoothing off and the grid. I don't care about the grid. Set point is this green. The set point doesn't look stair-steppy, does it? I don't see big stepping in the set point. I mean, in the RC command. But if there's stepping in the set point, it has to be coming from the RC command. So like this really has to be that is this Crossfire? Please tell me it's Crossfire. What's the stepping period? Very good idea, Brandon Beans. So let's see if we can, let's zoom in here and let's mark. Why is mark not working? I'm hitting M. There we go. We got a marker here, and here's our next step point. It's roughly at 150 hertz, isn't it? It's roughly 150 hertz. 150. So it's 150 hertz. So that's Crossfire being at 150 hertz, but the RC smoothing. So you switched from 50 to 150 hertz, and Betaflight hasn't caught up yet. So here's my guess. My guess is that you're on Crossfire, and it's switching between 50 and 150 hertz, and the auto smoothing takes a second to catch up. What you need to do, Shy Common says is more obvious at 208. We'll look again. We'll look at 208, but I think we know the answer. 208. 208? Where is it at 208? I don't see really anything going on at 208. There's nothing happening here. This is not really, can't really make anything of this. Here we go. That's 208. That's what you're talking about, isn't it? So there we've got RC command, big stair stepping here in RC command. It doesn't look like you're moving your stick stuttery. And then it fixes itself right here. Now it's gone. Normal. What's the period of this stair stepping? We'll hit M to mark, and it's going to be 100 and... No. That's not, I don't know what that is. That's not 150, and it's not 50 either. I'm trying to like make it 50, but... oh, that's 50. Oh, what the hell? That's... I don't know what to make of that. I think what you need to do, we talked about this with Dan636 yesterday. I think what you need to do is manually lock Crossfire at either 50 or 150. Lock it at 150 and then fly it and see, and I bet it'll go away. So that's the takeaway. This is why Crossfire Dynamic, if you care about PID tuning, don't use Crossfire Dynamic rate. Lock it at 150 or lock it at 50 if you need the range, but don't use dynamic if you care about PID tuning, because or let it go, because when it switches from 150 to 50, you'll get a fraction of a second while Betaflight filtering catches up, and then it'll be fine. You'll probably never notice in real life. Flush FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Can you mix and match different manufacturers' motors if they're the same size in kV? Yeah, you can. It's not the best thing to do, but you totally can. Whoa, my God. Look at that. It is 2:54 p.m. We have just about finished this stream. We got just a few more minutes to go. Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming. Aaron Ciotti is going to start streaming at 3 o'clock. He's going to start posting the link to his stream. Scout FPV says, my quad is reading my 4S batteries as 3S. How do I calibrate this in Betaflight? In the battery, first thing to do is in the power and battery tab, make sure that the voltage it's reading is accurate. Then, what the problem is that the detection of the cell count is based on the max battery threshold. So if your max battery threshold is set at 4.3, but you're putting in like high volt batteries charged to 435, then it'll misread the cell count. So just basically raise the threshold a little bit. Harry Props FPV says, I missed a super chat. I'm so sorry about that, Harry Props. Oh my goodness, I missed a couple super chats. Harry Props FPV, thanks for a $10 super chat. When I power and flash my EP2, it binds fine. When I connect the receiver and TX wires to the GEP-RC, it does not bind. Is it a dead UART? You're saying binding. Do you mean that you don't get movement in the receiver tab, Harry Props? That's a different thing than binding. What does the LED on the receiver indicate? Does it indicate that it's bound? Is it solid? If the LED on the ExpressLRS receiver is solid, then it's bound. And then the problem is your wiring or your flight controller config. Okay, Harry Props, the LED is solid, so it's bound. Stop thinking about binding now and check your wiring to the flight controller, check your ports tab, and so forth. Those are the things that are wrong. Make sure, remember, it's RX to TX and TX to RX. Mua wants to know, do you plan on activating YouTube memberships? No, I do not, and I'll tell you why. Mua, I would rather just have you as a patron. Patreon pays a much bigger percent of your money to me versus YouTube. And the other thing is that YouTube, if I did activate YouTube memberships, I've thought, well, why don't just activate YouTube memberships? Maybe people would, they'd like to use it. But the problem is that I already don't have enough time to make all the content that I want to make. So if I activate YouTube memberships and then don't do anything, people will be like, I signed up for Bardwell's YouTube membership and he doesn't even post there. What a ripoff. So I'd rather have you on Patreon where I do post content. And I also get a much, much bigger percent of your money if you join over on Patreon than a YouTube membership. So. Woolhound RC, thank you for a $5 super chat. I also missed you. I apologize for that. I somehow started an 868 race. I tried to switch from 866 to 915 and the receivers wouldn't connect. Do I have to rebind if I switch to 915? Yes, you do. Woolhound RC, if the receiver is powered up and bound and you change the radio region, the receiver will automatically change. But if the receiver is not powered up and bound, you must rebind it after you change the region. All right. GMI Visuals points out that if the ExpressLRS receiver is solid LED, it could be stuck in bootloader. There was a bug with some of the... was it the ExpressLRS? Where the flight controller... it was causing the ExpressLRS receiver to go into bootloader, but I can't remember the details. Okay. Alley-oop wants to know the best beginner 3D printer under $500. Alley-oop, I would say either get an Ender 3... which is, or get an Ender 3 Pro. What the hell? Your budget is $500. Get an Ender 3 Pro. Start learning about, there's just tons of support, tons of community. It's okay out of the box. Then you're going to start upgrading it. You'll put a BL Touch on it. Maybe you'll convert it to direct drive, dual Z-axis. Get the Ender 3 Pro or Ender 3 V2. The other thing is, I like the Sovol SV01. It has a couple of the upgrades that the Ender 3 doesn't have. But the thing about the Sovol is, if you got a Sovol and you decide you want to put a new mainboard in it, there might be a tutorial out there, I don't know, but the Ender, everything you're going to want to do to the Ender, there's a zillion tutorials about and a zillion choices. Like the Servo BL Touch sensor has the wires are swapped. And if you just buy a BL Touch off of the internet, it won't work unless you swap the wires. If you buy a new main board for your Servo and you try and use the Servo BL Touch sensor, it won't work unless you swap the wires. So there's all these little quirks with the Servo that you have to work around. It's a great printer out of the box, but if you just want to build a new firmware for your Servo, there may not be a great, whereas there's a million tutorials about how to do it for an Ender. So the Ender, it's a solid choice for a beginner. It's not the best, but it will get you going. That's going to do it, folks. I love the Servo. I would personally tell you to get the Servo. Just buy the Servo, use it, don't stress about upgrades. And then later, if you want to upgrade something, like I would say get the Servo BL Touch. Like the BL Touch is a worthy upgrade. But if you want to learn about upgrading printers and modding them, then buy an Ender. And then just start modding the shit out of it. And while your Ender is down because you're modding it, print on your Servo. There you go. $500. You buy an Ender and a Servo. Have money to spare. Thank you so much for watching, guys. That's going to do it for this stream. Happy flying to everybody. Have a great stream, Ciati. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. when my next stream. Happy flying, you guys.